Welcome to Albania. Since 1998, Albania has been a parliamentary republic. The assembly, known as the Kuvendi, is made up of 140 members from all 12 regional districts. A parliamentary republic is a republic that operates under a parliamentary system of government where the executive branch derives its legitimacy from and is accountable to the legislature. The country of Albania is led by the head of state and the prime minister named Ilir Meta and Edi Rama. Albania is located in South Europe, bordering the Adriatic Sea, Ionian Sea, North Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro, and Greece. It is notorious for its high elevations, with over 75% of its land laying more than 200 meters above sea level. Major cities of Albania are Tirana, Durin, Vlorë, and Elbasan. The capital of Albania is Tirana. In the 16-month period spanning from February 1998 to June 1999, the Albanian-led Kosovo Liberation Army fought against Serbian rule. Serbian authorities responded with brute force, forcing hundreds of thousands of Kosovo Albanians to flee the region for Albania. Tens of thousands of Albanians are killed by Serbian forces, and roughly 1,500 Serbians are killed in the conflict. Albania's neighboring allies include North Macedonia, Kosovo, and Greece. Other allies in Europe include France, Croatia, Germany, and Italy. Lastly, out-of-country allies include the US, Canada, China, India, and South Korea. Albania's most notable enemy is Serbia. Albania often trades with their allies. Their main imports are food and machinery, while their main exports are fuel, oil, and agricultural products. The corporate income tax, or CIT, is 15% in Albania. Both employee and employer tax rate for health insurance is 1.7%. Value-added tax, or VAT, is 20%. Income tax rate depends on one's income. For incomes between 0 and 30,000 lek, which is the Albanian currency, $1 is equal to 114.35 lek. There is a 0% tax rate. Between 30,000 lek and 150,000 lek, the tax rate is 13%. Anything above 150,000 lek is subject to a 23% tax rate. Now for identifying Albania's gross domestic product. Albania's GDP is $17.12 billion. Its consumption expenditure is $14.14 billion. Its investment is $3.25 billion. Government expenditure is $5,411,000. Net exports is negative $2.8 billion, where exports is $2.62 billion and imports is $5.42 billion. GNP is $38.53 billion purchasing power parity dollars, and to find GNP per capita, we divide $38.53 billion by the population of Albania, which is 2.838 million, which gives us 13,576.6 GNP per capita. The top three imports of Albania are refined petroleum, cars, and packaged medicaments. The top three exports of Albania are leather footwear, footwear parts, and non-knit men's suits. As for the price indices in Albania, we see that in 1980, the CPI is 42 and the inflation rate is 44%. In 1990, it is 45 and the inflation rate is 33.17%. In 2000, the CPI is 62 and the inflation rate is 0.35, which is a very dramatic drop. In 2010, the CPI is 85, and in 2010, the inflation rate is 3.62%, which rose. In 2015 through 2019, the CPI is 98, and the inflation rate is 1.62%. Now for growth rate and real GDP per person. In 1990, the real GDP was roughly $2 billion. The total population of that year was 3.287 million people. The real GDP per capita is $1,000. The growth rate was 7.3%, and the HDI is 0.664. In 2000, the real GDP was 3.4 billion. The total population was 3.089 million. The real GDP per capita was 1,000. The growth rate was 6.9%, and the HDI was 0.667. In 2010, the real GDP was $11.93 billion. The total population was 2.913 million. The real GDP per capita was 4,095 and 43 cents. The growth rate was 3.7%, and the HDI was 0.740. In 2015 through 2019, the real GDP was $15.29 billion. The total population was $2.854 million. The real GDP per capita was $4,998.44. The growth rate was 2.1%, and the HDI was 0.795. There are also alternative measures of well-being, such as the adult literacy rate in Albania being 98.1%, life expectancy at birth being 78.57 years, infant mortality rate being 8.6 deaths per 1,000 live births, physicians per 1,000 people are 1.6, the GINI index is 30.8, mobile phones per capita is at 0.92 per person, education levels are the rank for education in Albania is 25th out of 167 countries. Televisions per capita is 206.09 per 1,000 people. And an important metric of my choosing was access to electricity, which was 100%. And also an interesting metric of my choosing was R&D expenditure, which was 0.2%. The end. I hope you enjoyed.